Why is it so valuable becoming a CISSP? What does that really do? What is that? My name is Derrick Coston, and I'm an instructor for StormWind Studios, the Certified Information Security Systems professional course. Well, I'm going to take a few moments of your time to talk about getting that CISSP certification and the value of it. Back in the late 80s, security wasn't an issue until really got in the 90s in the year 2000. But as the internet technology boomed and people realized that our data is important and people realized that data is worth money, the early years of hacking that we used to deal with was all about people attacking your website. They weren't really going after your data as much as they're going after today. Well, now that people realize that your data is worth value to them, now all of a sudden it's like, okay, what do we as information technology professionals need to do? Well, we got to secure our systems a lot better. But the problem is now, yeah, you can have a Net Plus, an A Plus, Security Plus certification, but now we need people who got to understand security from a managerial perspective, and that's really where the role of a CISSP comes in. We are that technical advisor to senior management of information tech. Basically, I call it the perimeter instance coming in. Is you have operations, you have administration, if you got data center services going on out there. The key thing is you got to provide security, you got to provide a management perspective on it. And what happens is, as a CISSP, we got to look at all the operational vulnerabilities and threats out there because our ultimate goal is to protect the confidentiality, the integrity, and availability of our organizations. And how do we do that is we got to learn how to balance ease of use, because we know users want to have the ease of use and the system controls, and we got to meet the needs of the business. But how do we do that in a way that is going to keep us compliant with organizations, help us with the laws, help us with the regulations, keep organizational policies going, and above all, prevent hackers from gaining access to our systems? In fact, I use the Identity Theft Center. There's a link out here that I like to go to, and you can go do it yourself. It's at notifyidentitytheftcenter.org, and they provide you with just what's happening on the data breaches. And what's interesting is I track this on a pretty frequently basis, but just in this year alone, you can see in 2021, which is our chart right here. For 2021 is the blue chart. This is 2021, and look at our data breaches that we're talking about here. In January of this year, of 2021, we started out in the 146. Then we worked up, and it kept going up, and it's amazing. We got to the highest peak ever in May. Of all the 5 years that this has been tracked, we've had more data breaches, like, for example, during the month of May, than even any other date out there. And it's amazing that when I go back and look at the sectors, we're talking professional, education, financial, government, healthcare, military, retail. Nobody's immune to this. And what is it everybody's doing? And when you go back and you start analyzing it, you can start seeing the things that people aren't really doing from a security perspective and a managerial aspect that's allowing our sites and organizations to be compromised. In fact, our role when we go back into being a CISSP, we need to understand how security aligns with information technology operations. There's several key operational goals that we focus on as a CISSP, is helping organizations identify and manage their technology. How do they manage access control? How do they monitor and analyze security events? How do they collect and report security metrics to management? Because really management has got to make the decision. I'm not the person in the company that's making the decision. I am the expert advisor to help companies make. So if I have a CTO or a CIO or even a CEO, and I'm assigned to that organization, I don't care if I'm a small organization or a large, I'm providing them enough information that can help them make a valid risk-based decision on the threats and vulnerabilities and how it impacts them so that they can make the decision, the business decision, on what direction they need to take. Because again, we don't want to have to go to the point where I'm the one that's helping them investigate and resolving incidents or we're dealing with a disaster recovery component. In fact, the way we teach this how in StormWind Studios is we put it all together. We have this process that we've come back and we focus on the confidentiality, integrity, and availability. But when you really look at it, we got to really start back to the beginning. We got to start back to assets. We deal with assets. That's what we deal with every day. Everything we focus on is our assets. Without assets, we can't do nothing without assets right there. Everything revolves around assets. We teach you in this course not only how to pass the exam, but how to implement this security process, because if you implement it and you understand how you implement it, then we can also teach you how to understand how to pass the exam, because it works hand in hand. It's great. We don't want you to just read a textbook and go take a certification. We want you to take what's in that textbook and we want you to apply that information, because the day you pick up your cert, you're now CISSP. We want you to understand, what do you mean by asset management? What do you mean by taking a risk assessment against those assets? What do you mean about implementing controls against those assets? Understanding the threats and vulnerabilities that can impact the assets, which ultimately puts us protection of confidentiality and integrity and availability. But you know what? We know it's not perfect. So what we got to know is we have an ongoing process that ISC Squared has pushed that says, yes, before we put something in production, this is what we do once we get it into production. So we got to have ongoing risk management. We have to identify, assess, control, and mitigate all the threats and vulnerabilities of our assets that are in production. And we got to mitigate those things. We got to make sure we have it. In the event that we go to incident management, the business continuity, and all that comes full circle. So as a CISSP, our job is to help keep security on a positive note. We got to keep uptime. We got to help organizations maintain operational resilience, where it keeps the core business functions operating even when a negative event occurs. We also have to help the organization protect the valuable assets. We help them do that, again, what is that? By protecting a wide range of assets and resources. We help them control these systems accounts. We help them effectively manage security management. And there's a lot. Basically, people say, as a CISSP, we're no longer the technical guru out in the field. I'm not a systems administrator anymore. I have the background in systems administration, but I have to understand at a management level, all those informational resources from the systems admin, the asset managers, the network managers, the encryption folks, all those people out there, I got to understand what they do so I can identify the threats and vulnerabilities and help the organization make a risk decision on what security controls actually should be in place to help that we don't become a statistic that's showing up on here. So here at StormWind Studios, we focus on helping you pass that exam as well as integrating the technology or the solutions that are used. We do a lot of hands-on. We do a lot of live participation where we chat with you. We have an online chat. We want you as a student to ask us questions because we don't want you just to come out there, pass the exam and go back. I'm a CISSP and I have no idea what I'm going to do after that. We want you to be able to walk out of get your exam, pass the exam, become a CISSP and hit the ground running. And that's the value we think we bring into it because we know you're going to pass the exam. We're very comfortable with that, but we want you to be a successful CISSP. So hopefully, if you have any questions, reach out to us, reach out to our team, and we'll be glad to talk, spend some time with you and help you understand our courses. So we hope you see out here in one of our CISSP certification exams or certification courses, and reach out again if you have any questions. I hope forward to seeing you sometime soon. Take care.